Perhaps you're a better person than I am. Actually, there's a very good chance that you are. Maybe these little sounds and their accompanying notifications mean absolutely nothing to you, and you've always simply played video games for the sheer joy of it. I was once much like you. But then a terrible and shameful addiction took hold of me. My purpose for playing games became horrifically twisted as I fell down a never-ending rabbit hole of playing truly horrible titles for the worst of reasons. Now the good news? I am in recovery now, and it has been many moons since my last intentional participation in a bad game simply to pursue the achievements that they contain. As a recovering achievement-holic, I have learned to stay away from games based on licensed properties. I no longer take a quick glance at the achievement list when I'm booting up a new game to see how many of these little pop-ups I can look forward to. I try to simply play the game the way it was designed and enjoy the occasional happy surprise of an in-game notifications. It happens organically. It's been a long, hard road to recovery for this achievement hunter. I've played so many truly bad games for years, simply for the joy of seeing these points populate next to my name. But then, one day, I finally realized something that changed my perspective on them for good and for the better.
Over the years, game developers have attempted many innovations to add additional reasons to purchase and play their products, but few have been as simple yet effective as the additions of achievements or trophies, artificial accolades that compel very specific actions or pursuits from the players.
In the early days of the arcade boom, the opportunity to become temporarily immortalized by achieving a high score on a game, and let us put our little initials in, demonstrating our status as an elite player on that particular title, that was the thing, right? And as video games headed into our homes, a new way of tracking gamer greatness emerged: achievements and trophies.
Whether we are referring to achievements as they are called on the Xbox platform, or trophies for those who play on Sony's family of consoles, their purposes are identical: to provide a form of visible recognition for the accomplishments of specific in-game challenges while playing.
Many are just for fun. Achievements that populate when we press start for the first time, or perform an embarrassing exploit like failing the same level repeatedly. Others are added to our collection by just simply playing the game through to its conclusion each time you beat a level. But the real reason that these in-game awards and the scores associated with them are so coveted is because the rarest and most valuable ones are only unlocked when a truly challenging objective is completed. Typically, it involves beating a game on its hardest difficulty levels or seeking out some of the most impossible goals in the game and overcoming them.
And the advent of these achievements have changed both the way many people play games, as well as the reasons some of these games get played at all, because they add to our game score or a platinum trophy virtual locker.
If I'm being truly honest, I think I have an idea why the pursuit of these particular accolades compelled me in the first place. It's the same reason I chase certain accomplishments in my real-world adventures. And even if you've never felt the siren call to play a terrible game simply for points, you may have grappled with this desire in a different way as well. It's a temptation as old as time, the temptation to step back and quantify our accomplishments or achievements. It's revealed in a million different ways, some we may not even recognize. When we think of this action, we usually picture, like Scrooge McDuck, diving in and counting his massive treasury of coins, or when, that image that Alexander the Great has when he was staring out at his freshly conquered empire with a continuing thirst for more. Both of those pretty hard to relate to for most of us ordinary people. But this particular desire reveals itself in a much smaller and more intimate way than we may realize. The human instinct to find our validation, recognition, our perception of our value, or our sense of security in things that we can count.
It can be what is found within our bank account, on our resume, in our quantity of friends and followers, through our test scores, the quantity of weight we can lift, the number we see on the scale staring back at us, or any other number of arbitrary measurements of success.
This desire reveals itself in ways we wouldn't even traditionally expect. Even the meekest and most humble of us may struggle with it without realizing it. All of these desires share the same common source: pride. And even the most Christian of us may unknowingly be caught in the grip of this parasite because it hides itself within our blessings.
The most infamous moment of counting his blessings is found in 1 Chronicles 21, when the very human known as being a man after God's own heart fell prey to the desire to see exactly how much he had achieved in his service to the Lord by counting the quantity of people he had been entrusted to lead.
King David had gone from a simple, unassuming shepherd boy who had the lowest ranking in his own house, wasn't even invited to a party that was for him, to receiving the blessing of being anointed by God to lead his chosen people of Israel. But this rags to riches story created an opportunity for David to be curious exactly how much the Lord had entrusted him with, even though he had been gifted all of this through unearned divine providence. This king, who was responsible for some of the most beautiful and humble poetry in existence in the book of Psalms, still fell victim to a moment of pride as he sought to count his blessings, with disastrous results for him and the very people he had been given to lead.
David's misguided census of the people of Israel provides a challenging question. How can we balance our healthy desire to give the Lord thanks with a grateful heart for all he has done for us, with the unhealthy human appetite to count how much he has blessed us with?
Even in our initially innocent thought to look and see how good the Lord has been to us, we can easily and inadvertently open the door to what the Bible calls a proud look, as we cast our gaze out the window towards what we can count and quantify and measure. There's a secret to avoiding this that the Apostle Paul uncovered for us, and it's the same secret that helped me finally break my bizarre interest in achievement hunting in my video games. So let's take a look at how Paul cracked the code in Philippians 4. He says, "Not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me."
The secret to destroying the parasite of pride that seeks to hide itself in the very blessings we receive from the Lord is to find true contentment in all of our seasons in life. And that means recognizing his love for us in the lean times in the same manner that we feel it during our times of abundance.
It means that our praise for him when we have little shouldn't be any different than when we have much. He doesn't love us less when our finances are low and our bills are high, and he isn't loving us more when our cup is overflowing. There is a reason why he allows us to experience hardship in conjunction with his grace. It is to suffocate that parasite of pride before it has the opportunity to infect his children. That's my Darth Vader move right there.
I love the way you did that.
You
got real serious. He was like,
well, it would have
his
been
hand was shaking
better
if you could see it.
Yeah, I was using the force. I was suffocating it.
It's so lame. All right. In the case of Paul, the Lord gave him both a blessing and a struggle. To starve the human desire to count our achievements as proof of his approval and view our setbacks as an indication of his disappointment.
The secret is what Paul was referring to when he shared that he had learned to be content, whether in seasons of abundance or abasement. It's the same painful lesson David had to learn the hard way when he attempted to count what the Lord had done for him. The key is to stop counting. Stop looking for artificial, temporary, arbitrary forms of validation in our lives, and simply find our peace in his hands, regardless of how high or low we feel that he is holding us at that moment.
He doesn't love us less when we are low or have a higher approval of us when we are flying high. He loves us unconditionally, and that means that our externally measurable performance is not an indication of the strength or status of our relationship.
Paul realized that the Lord loved and cared for him just as much when he was trapped in an unearned prison as he was when he was preaching to large crowds and enjoying what appeared to be success. He wasn't simply accepting his challenging circumstances and rejoicing in his victories. Paul saw them both as identical seasons in his relationship with the Lord, regardless of how differently they each felt on the inside.
And because of his acceptance of the thorn in the flesh, designed to prevent the parasite of pride from entering his thoughts, Paul was able to experience both the ups and downs of the physical life without allowing it to impact his recognition of the Lord's loving presence in both.
Now, you may be wondering at this point, if you're still watching, how does this have anything to do with my unhealthy achievement hunting in my video game? So I guess it's finally time to pull these threads together. That was a Loki
That was
moment
really
right there.
good.
Once I recognized that my collection of achievements and trophies were not an actual measurement of my enjoyment of that game, the happiness I experienced playing it, or even my actual skill level within the game, I finally realized the limited value of spending any amount of my time chasing them. To be honest, I'm not even sure who really cares if I platinumed a specific title or unlocked every achievement in a certain game. Certainly not any of the people in my life that truly matter to me. I learned to recognize that whether an achievement pops up during a specific action or not, what matters is if I'm truly content with the game I am playing. Regardless of the game, choosing to recognize these moments with an achievement unlocked notification. I learned to enjoy the game I'm playing whether an achievement unlocks or not. One does? It's pretty cool.
He gets pretty excited now,
Yeah,
actually.
nice.
He's like, oh,
surprise, surprise. But if it doesn't, I still enjoyed the time I played with it all the same. And that's the truth that must be present in my relationship with the Lord. If He chooses to bless the work of my hands and shower me with earthly blessings, yeah, that's great. If I'm in a season that yields very little externally visible fruit, that should be equally great. Otherwise, I'm making the mistake of equating His physical blessings with spiritual success and opening the door for pride to enter the equation.
The Lord does not love us less during our times of struggle, nor is He showing a greater affection for us when we are experiencing quantifiable success. In the moment we stop to count our blessings, it could be a dangerous one, because we tend to view these achievements as validation of His presence in our lives and approval of our actions.
And once we equate the Lord's blessings with something we can count, we have opened the door for the Trojan horse of pride to sneak in and allow us to bask in His glory. Instead, we shouldn't count anything at all. We should simply count ourselves as abundantly loved and blessed by the Lord, regardless of any measurable accolades that accompany our actions. As Christ followers, we are showered by His unearned love and grace at all times. And if we only find contentment in those periods where we can measure His presence by external factors, we have missed the whole point.
Just as earning a platinum trophy or a perfect game score in a game is rarely a reflection of it being one of my favorite games, or even a good game, these measurable accomplishments in life are not necessarily an indication of the Lord's increased favor in our lives. His rain falls on both just and the unjust, and He makes the sun rise on the evil and the good.
So let's turn our eyes away from the size of the harvest and onto the Lord of the harvest Himself, the Lord who gives and takes away, and loves us the same either way. Whether we are currently in a period of feasting or in a state of famine, earning trophies or simply playing the game, His grace is sufficient for us through every season. So let's avoid the temptation to only see His presence in our measurable achievements and equate anything we can quantify as proof of His divine approval.
He loves us when the mirror is kind and when the numbers on the scale keep on rolling. He adores us when our credit score is high and when it's low.
His presence is near us when our heart is full and when it is broken. And when we can see His love equally in both the sun and in the rain, we can finally find the contentment that Paul spoke of and unlock the achievement in life that matters the most, the peace that only comes from Christ.
The peace that surpasses all understanding and refuses any attempts at being validated by the trophies that this life offers. A peace that kills all forms of pride by suffocating them at their source.
A peace that cannot be limited by the ferocity of the storm we are in, nor measured by the size of the boat that we've been given. And when we're able to rest just as securely and peacefully in His arms through our periods of abundance as we do in our times of abasement in life, that is when we can finally say with Paul that we have learned the secret of true contentment.
The Lord is just as present with us on the top of the mountain as He's down in the valley of the shadow of death. And if we have our eyes fully on Him instead of our current level of elevation, then we won't truly notice the difference.
Achievement unlocked.